The person who is wanting to know that they belong is asking to be noticed. And the person who feels like they want to be capable and don't want to be overpowered doesn't want you to make them notice them. So they get into this thing, and it's really not the problem at all. Because when the person who feels like that they're being overpowered or pushed around realizes the other person only wants them to be acknowledged, of course I can do that.
Solving problems is such a huge thing and creates that confidence. So when the parents aren't there or the teachers aren't there and you're on the playground or, you're just having a challenge, all of these things are stored on how to deal with it independently. And I just have a very quick story to share. And I was in awe that I visited a family member and they've been doing family meetings forever. And the 3 children, and knowing the confidence that they had. So there was a party and there were over 100 people there. And these were a lot of the colleagues from work for these 2 adults, parents, and the young children, the youngest being 9 and the oldest was 18, and how they interacted with others, had conversations, being able to ask questions. And that comes from that courage that you spoke about. And in addition to that, having that confidence, knowing when someone will ask a specific question that you have the ability to answer or ask them questions. And that happens when you sort of the younger child watching the older one come up with a solution. You store that in your mind, and next time you might have that. So what a beautiful way to just sort of share power and offer solutions. And, they're not always going to count. So not everybody gets a trophy, but you're helping to contribute in a meaningful way.
We solve a problem or we agree on something that isn't going to work out. But because we're going to meet again next week, and so we have the new business, we have the old business, we evaluate, how did that work out? So I have at least 20 years of family meeting minutes. Wow. And I can tell you that almost everyone had something about chores. We had a lot of things that didn't work, but it was fascinating. And some things worked for a while. And sometimes the solution came from the littlest one in the family. But that's another important skill that we can learn from our mistakes, and we can keep trying. And if we keep working on things as a family, we're going to figure it out. But also, to your point, which I think is really important, because this is a big thing for me these days, is I don't think that North American parents around the world actually teach kids social skills. I have 2 grandchildren who are Dutch, and I just came back from spending quite a bit of time with them. It's a completely different way of raising children there. And one of the things is that, if you come into a house, the children come and introduce themselves, or if they come in, they come and shake everybody's hand, whether they're 3 years old or 2 years or grown up. And they have a comfort, as you were talking about, with adults and having discussion. And what do we tend to do? We tend to say, oh, there's company coming. Why don't you go outside and play? We don't teach them the skills they need. We don't teach them how to introduce themselves. So the family meeting is another place where they start to learn how to do things and what social interaction is about, and that their opinion matters. So that's how they develop capability, and they know that they matter because we're asking them what they can do. And because we try things and it doesn't work, we don't get upset. We try something else. That's courage. That's resiliency. So we have the opportunity by problem solving and then reviewing our solutions to learn all those and to learn the skills that we need, like communication skills. We learn how to speak and we learn how to listen. We learn how to accept responsibility, how to develop self-discipline and resiliency, all of those things, that good judgment by evaluating, so courage. We talk about courage. Courage without good judgment is just dangerous. That's the kid who thinks courage is going and riding their car fast or drinking or something like that. So all of those skills, and we need to know how our children are thinking. And you were talking about individual, but it's by their responses that we learn what's important to them and where we might need to work a little bit harder. So if we're getting into power struggles with somebody, we know that they need to feel more capable. We have to give them jobs, ask for their help, but meaningful, not just giving them, some job, but really giving them the opportunity to contribute and ask their opinion. What do you think of my outfit? Right there. I think your opinion matters. You have good taste. I'm letting you know. So there are all kinds of opportunities. There's the problem solving, but there's also, we always ended our meetings with a family fun activity. So all through my kids' childhood, every week we did some family activity. And I will say that even when they were in high school, we always look forward to it. We planned something together. And when you plan something, I mean, there's so many things that we could do, but say we decide that we're going to go to the movies. We don't just, then mom finds out what the movies are. What we talk about, who's going to find out what movies are playing? How are we going to decide which movie? Are we going to bring snacks or are we going to buy them? If we buy them, then we can't go for ice cream afterwards, but maybe we can, but or if we're going on a picnic, who's going to go to the supermarket? What do we need? Who's going to make the sandwiches? Are we going to do it together? So there's all of this capable connection and contribution that we can do. So that's really, and it's something that we all decide together, and we don't vote at family meetings.
Don't vote. So tell me more. How do you figure out what the end result's going to be if two want one thing and three want something else?
We keep working on it until we can find, we might not get our first best choice, but we can find something that we'll all enjoy. And if we can't, then maybe we don't plan anything this week and we'll try again next week. But because if you vote, it's usually pressure. Now, you do have to vote because there's also classroom meetings, and classroom meetings, it's harder to find a consensus in a whole group. We're more so we do use the voting, but at home, we try to find consensus that we can find something. And, this week, we'll do this and maybe that week. So kids learn how to convince each other but nobody's forced. And I will share a story because I think this is really important, that Betty Lou Bednar, who I wrote books with, was a foster parent. And at one point she had 4 of her own and 5 foster children. So you can imagine 9 kids. And this was before she became a parent educator and a therapist and all of that. And one of the things she used to say there was no child who entered their home that was there for more than a week without having an experience that in this house, things were different. That if I didn't want to go bowling, nobody went bowling that week. And it was such an empowering experience. And then, of course, all the kids would then spend all their time, you'll really like bowling and we can do this and it's having a voice and knowing that your opinion matters. That's really, really important. Oh, and what we did at the end is we always had a treat at the end of our family meetings. So in our family, we didn't have regular desserts. We always had fruit or something. But once a week, you knew you were going to have something special. And it was the chairperson who got to choose the dessert and either make it, or there was a little kitty for money so they could buy something, or the ingredients. And so we start with compliments, we end with a treat, and in between we learn our skills, and we get to hear what our kids are thinking about things too. We get to know where we need to help them and what their thoughts are, which then lets us know where to go with the C's. How do we help them develop those C's?
What a great way for at least busy parents. We're constantly on the rush and run and that guilt that we feel that we're not connected. But this, even 5 minutes of connection it fills the hearts and the souls and brings the family together. So it's not the quantity, it's just the quality of time that we spend with our children. And it just really helps them fuel for life, just fuels them up to kind of go out there and do what they need to do and live beautifully. One thing that I would love to hear a little bit more about is the classroom then. So in the classroom meeting sessions, there has to be a consensus because there can't be a consensus always because of the size. What does the voting look like in a classroom setting?
One of the tools that you can use that's great is called Fist to 5. And you could invite every child. Fist means I really don't like that idea. 5 means I love it. And you can invite every person to, okay, let's see what we like. And you could have together, and you can see if there's anything below like a 2 or below a 3, then it's off the list. We're not going to go for it. So we're just going to choose things that are above a certain level. And then you have to negotiate and talk, but you can then get kind of quickly everybody's take on something and then decide what to do next. And that's a good tool for a family and family meeting too.
Anything less than 5, you sort of pay attention and have a conversation around it?
Yeah, anything below 3, I'm like, okay, I'm game, I'll give it a 4, or I'm up for that. I would do it. It's, but don't really love it, really don't love it. No way. And you maybe talk about it.